Alrighty, hello, welcome to my channel. What's up? I asked you guys for some questions for a Q&A sort of video, and you guys came through. You guys placed and asked me some really amazing questions, so this video is here for you that want to know a little bit more about me and my channel. So, here we go. Question and answers, yes. So, like I said, you guys really rocked it out. I mean, I asked you guys to ask me some questions, what you guys wanted to know about me, and I'm here for it. So, I'm going to answer your questions. I'm not going to say who gave what questions, but I'll just give you guys the questions. There were a couple of duplicate questions, so don't feel left out if I don't word it as exactly like you asked it, but I got it. I appreciate you and what have you. So let's just get into these questions. So the first question that I have on my list is the sexiest romance that I have ever read. Whew, that is so hard because there are a lot of sexy books that I've read that have like raised my pulse and made me fan myself. But I would have to say the Good Doctor trilogy by RENEA Mason. I listened to this on audiobook after I met RENEA at a book signing, and she was like, you know, it's award-winning, and I was like, okay. And by the way, it's on in the romance package on Audible, or at least it was when I listened to it, and I listened to it and it was like, whoo, this was like the first story this in a long time that I was like, ooh, it's a little, ooh, aha, I'm hot, yeah, ooh, where's my fan at? It's a little steamy in here. I don't think I can listen to this at work. Ooh, yes, that trilogy is flaming hot. I mean, it is seriously stay at home. Listen to it. Those voice actors are amazing. They are like putting you into a straight porno. I mean, them sex scenes are crazy. And then on top of that, there's this like mystery suspense that goes along with it. And it's, ooh, it is a little taboo because it's more than menage. It's like, what? It's female, 4 males, 3 males, something like that. So it's crazy. And then the reasonings behind all that, and just, oh, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Where's my Blanche? Whew. Let's see, what else? So, being that it is Black History Month, and I am reading a lot of Black author and Black main character stories, I figured this is probably where this question came from, but I didn't answer it or set up anything. I really skimmed over this one, so that I didn't answer it and write it down or anything like that, or really think of it, because it's asking off the top of my head. My must-read top 3 romances by women of color that I would recommend, and I absolutely, completely will always recommend anything by Kennedy Ryan. So the Grip series and the Soul series, I've read these two. Oh, and Long Shot and Block Shot. Oh, I can't wait to get my hands on Hook Shot. Whoo, but Kennedy Ryan, oh, my girl. I actually was honored to do an interview with her in 2017, I believe it was. I have the video. I'll make sure I link it so that you can watch it. But to listen to her and to just speak with her about how she comes up with these amazing stories that puts you in this real sort of space in your head, and it's real life. She researches like crazy. She is absolutely amazing. Go out and read Kennedy Ryan's books. Period. If you're looking for a person of color, woman of color, Get it. Get it. Yes. Kennedy Ryan. Number 2, Brenda Jackson. Oh, Brenda Jackson is like OG. Got a plethora of stories that are just on point. Let's see, who else can I recommend? I would definitely recommend Brittany C. Cherry. She has a really good way of twisting some suspense into her romance that you don't see coming. With The Air He Breathes, I was like, what? Did that just happen? I will link down in the description box my list on Goodreads of Black authors that, or my bookshelf for Black authors. There are 112 books in there that you guys can check out. So if you're looking for Black authors, check that link out. Oh, let's go to what did I do when I was in the military and why did I decide to get out? So a little bit of story time. While I was in the military, I was a military police officer. I did that for 8.5 years, so I fulfilled my contract. And I really break down my service with before September 11th and after September 11th. So before September 11th, when I joined at the ripe old age of 18, or almost 19, I joined to get out of my house, to leave Michigan, and to not look back, to see the world, to get college money, just to be on my own. And I really wanted to like go into the FBI. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to do law enforcement, and that was like the best way to do it. So that's what I did. While I was in, it was very ups and downs and, you know, things like that. The military was going through a time of a freeze where there wasn't very much promotion status or promotion that was going on. It was very few and far between. You really had to be like over and beyond what was needed. I did do a lot of amazing things. I became a traffic accident investigator, and I loved that job. I absolutely loved that job. I responded to so many traffic accidents, though, that I now have a lot of, not really phobias, but intricacies of myself. So I'm not a big fan of bridges when it comes to driving. And I don't ever think I responded to an accident where it involved a bridge, but just knowing how easy it is for a vehicle to roll and being able to detect that and things like that from my past life, yeah, it really sort of affects me. I try not to drive over bridges. It freaks me out. I am one of those people that likes to looky-loo, but I don't slow down. I don't slow down. I am crazy when it comes to my driving because I still, that just lives in your body, that law enforcement type of driving. It just lives there. And then September 11th happened. I was stationed in South Korea when it occurred. I was the on-duty investigator, so I was on a 24-hour shift. I was getting ready to sort of take a nap. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and my friend and I, who was also an investigator, we were watching television. It was like, yo, did you just see what happened on the news? And it really looked like a movie. And then it was like, it hit you and you were like, that's not a movie. We need to go shut down the base. And that's pretty much what we did. Her and I, we went to the station, and our provost marshal was called in. We shut down our post in South Korea, and then everyone was called in, and we pretty much lived on post for the next 72 hours or so, staying up, making sure that, you know, all the gates were properly reinforced. We had no clue what was really going on. And I was actually scheduled to get out of the military in March of 2000. So 2002, I was supposed to get out of the military in March, and I was extended. I was stop lost. I was like, what the hell? So yeah, I ended up staying in, and I went to a couple other duty stations, and then we dealt with the onslaught of, you know, the effects that September 11th happened. After it happened, people getting ramped up. I was super excited, or really wanted to go over there and kick some ass, because I felt, you know, wronged, and that's what I had joined the military to do, was to serve my country, and things like that. So yeah, this story time turned in real long. But then I was stationed at my last duty station. I went to a couple different duty stations, and then I got stationed back in South Korea again, so I got to experience that whole after September 11th South Korea. But I was also higher in rank, and I was the sergeant of a traffic investigation section, and responsible for an entire area. So I had a really hard job the second time that I went over there, but I still enjoyed it and loved it, and wouldn't trade a single day from it. But when I came back, I met my husband, and he had more years in. He was a military police officer as well, and the military police corps is very small, in that if you are stationed with a spouse, it is very rare for you to be in the same unit, and that means there aren't very many military police units on one post, then that means there's good possibility you're not going to be stationed at the same post. So instead of doing the long distance thing and trying that, I went ahead and got out when I was supposed to at the 8-year mark. And then we got married, and from there he went ahead and retired at 22 years. But we moved to 2 different other stations as well. So long drawn out, there's the answer for that question. That is why I got out, because I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have my son, and Iraq was still really ramped up. We didn't want to, you know, not deploy together. I wanted to have kids, and so I just went ahead and got out because he had more years in. Let's see. Another question is to, someone's asking that they have been in a really dark and taboo sort of mood. My favorite recommendations for dark and taboo, I have a complete shelf on Goodreads, so I will link that down below. But the ones right off the top of my head, I have to say, is She Asked For It by Willow Winters. It deals with a very sensitive subject, but in a dark and crazy way. Like, when I read this book, I literally spent 15 to 20 minutes after this one scene, or during this one scene, sitting in my bathroom bawling, just in the moment for that scene. I was just like so overwhelmed by it, and just really in my feelings for it. So it wasn't like it was a sad, I mean, it's a sad scene, but it was just, it was dark, so very dark. Then I would say to check out, or also check out, The Life of Anna series by MARISSA Honeycutt. Oh my goodness, that series is gonna take you on a ride, because there's so many levels and so many layers to it. You're just like, wow. It like goes down, 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 and it's like 5.5 books deep, and I was in such a dark hole for that until at least middle of book 4. I was just like, what? Why? And it has, gosh, secret society type stuff in it, and fantastical elements, and wow. Just wow. It's very dark. It's very taboo. You should go check it out. If you're looking for a little bit of a tamer dark and taboo sort of story, I would definitely say check out the Web of Sins series by Alethea Roman. It deals with the dark underbelly of Chicago, sort of not mob-like, but almost organized crime. So it definitely has some twists and turns. It has some sexy to it, and it has some dark and, you know, questionable things that go along there. The Up in the Air series by R.K. Lilly, always one of my favorites. It deals with some very interesting parentage. And then, of course, it has this sort of undertone of BDSM as well in there. So, yeah. And then, lastly, I would like to suggest and recommend the new Camelot series by Sierra Simone. She rocked my world last year in 2018 with this series, and I definitely recommend this one. Yes, most definitely. So another story time. One of my author friends who I love posted a question in her group about how or what it's like to go to a strip club. She asked if any of us had been to a strip club and what the, you know, atmosphere was like, or just what if we had went. And of course, me being the honest person I am, I posted that I used to work in a strip club. And this is very, very true. During my first years in the military, it was a time where we only got paid like $1,000 a month. Yes, only $1,000 a month. And actually it was less than that because that was $1,000 before taxes. And so I was poor and I needed to make extra money. I lived in a military town that had a lot of strip clubs. So I would don my colored wigs and I would go and I would work the pole. I would dance. It was a time when I was much slimmer. I'll see if I can post a picture. Oh, as a matter of fact, I do. I'll post my very first night as a military police officer there so you can see how skinny I was. Or I'll post my Bosnia picture when I was stationed there when I took R&R. That's a cute dress, and see how skinny I was. But yeah, I danced. I did that for a long time. I want to say like the 2 or 3 years that I was stationed at that location. I did that for extra money. I made good money. Okay, my favorite subgenres or romances, types of romances that I like to read. I absolutely love to mix and mash and, you know, really keep that palette cleansed with when it comes to books. I figured out a way not to get into reading slumps, and that's by always switching it up. And I like contemporaries, I like dark romances, I like that taboo, I like second chance romances, I like pregnancy romances, I love billionaire romances, I love some blue collar and military romances, especially if you get them right. I have a couple authors that I just know will do amazing when it comes to military. Rachel Robinson, Corinne Michaels, Suzanne Stoker. Oh, I think that's it. Rom-com, I know that if I want a amazing rom-com with some heart to it, I'm going to Megan Quinn. If I want some breeding, so we're getting into some of the tropes here. Breeding, I love some breeding, and Alexa Riley is my go-to for breeding. Just get to it, give me some sexy time, give me some I want you, you're mine, and that's just all there's to it. I'm gonna put a baby in that baby maker. Yes, 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 yes. If I'm looking for realistic, set in, you know, that right now sort of feel, give me that heart, gonna rip it out, I'm going for Christy Pastore, Fabiola Francisco, Kennedy Ryan. Oh my goodness, there are just so many. I could go on and on and on about, you know, the authors that I just love. I mean, there's so many. I just can't name them. I mean, you could just look at my shelves back here to know who my favorites are because they're all front and center. front and center back there. And I love them. I love stalking them and meeting them at different signings, giving them hugs and, you know, saying, you know, or reading their books. And what's funny, another story time, what's funny is that it came up on book Twitter, I think it was, that, whatchamacallit, people giving 5 stars to books that weren't necessarily very good, but because of the author, they went ahead and gave 5 stars to. That is one thing that I will never do. I have actually read a few books by all of those authors that I just named off. That there's at least one book of theirs that just didn't do it for me, that I just didn't connect with, or that I was just like, this wasn't for me. I still love you and I'm still gonna read your books, but this one just didn't do it for me. And you have to have that balance. You just got to. And I really appreciate those authors even more, because you can't be on all the time. There's just no way you're on all the time. And I appreciate it for my own sanity and the fact that I can actually sit here honestly tell you that just because I love those authors and I will read everything that they put out, like everything, and like stalk them to get advanced copies and things like that, there are some books that I don't particularly, you know, connect with, and I won't give them 5 stars just because it's the author that's, you know, that wrote it. Let's see, another question. Would I ever consider writing my own book one day? No. No, 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 no. Never, 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 ever, ever, ever. I am not an author. I tried writing a blog once and I sucked at it. So there is no writing in my future. Now, if I was to, like, hook up with maybe an author and we sort of, they wrote while I told them stories, I guess. They put it all together. I don't know. Putting it out in the universe, whatever. I don't know. But I probably would be down for that. Or, yeah, something to make into a screenplay. I don't know. I think I'm better on camera. Let's see. Next question is to give you guys my top 5 worst books that I read in 2018. So I read 15 horrible books in 2018. I think it was 15 at least. I'll link that video in the cards, or you can check the description box. I'm not going over them again because they were horrible. They were like legit horrible last year. My favorite couples of 2018. Gosh, there were so many. I read 365 books, and there are a whole bunch of couples that I absolutely love. Just off the top of my head, we're going with Bree and Cole from Love You Through It, Iris and August from Long Shot, Banner and Jared from Blockshot, RENEA and Sterling from Web of Sins, Greer, Ash, and Emery from the new Camelot series. Oh, geez. Those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. And let's see, self-published authors. Yes. Pretty much my entire repertoire is built up from the authors that I meet at book signings, and most of them are independent authors. There are some traditional ones. There are some that started off as indie authors that are now traditional authors, or they have a mix of traditional books and independent. But what I find about independent authors is that I like that they don't have a formula that they use, except for that happy ending at the end, or the happily for now type thing. And I really bucked at that one for a while, that whole concept of happily for now. But in their simplistic form, I get it. I totally get it. So I'm on board with that now. I'm like, okay, how they get there for me is more the journey that I like to take, and the independent authors that I read are amazing at that, because I love all the twists and turns and things like that that they go through. So, yes. Let's see. Some books that I stayed up super late to read. Oh, the Life of Anna series by MARISSA, HONEYCUTT. Like, I straight up stayed up. I was tired after I read that. I was emotionally drained after reading those books, but I stayed up to get through the next one, the next one, the next one. The Consequences series by Alethea Roman. Ugh. Now, when I first read that series, I actually had to wait like a year in between each book, because it was when Alethea had just come on scene. I found her book, Consequences, and I read it. I was emotionally connected to it. I was changed by that book. Oh, wow. And then I had to wait for its sequel, and then I was just addicted to her writing style and her darkness. It was dark, because I wouldn't even say that's a romance. That series it turns into a romance, but it did not start off that way. It started off as a psychological thriller, and yeah. Yes, I was there for it. So there for it. The Checkmate series by Kennedy Fox. They were such quick listens that I was like, gots to know. Oh, this duet's over. I want to know about the next couple. Oh, this duet's over. I want to know about the next couple. I am sad that there's only 6 books in that series for 3 couples, and I wanted more. That was the end of 2018 that I listened to those, and I was like, oh, I need more. I need more. I need more. Drive by Kate Stewart. Whew. That book, it took me on an emotional ride that deals with music, and I was like, there for it. There for it. Couldn't put it down. Got it as an arc, and 48 hours later, I was like, spent. And the Grip series by Kennedy Ryan. Woo, kept me up, because this book really touched home in the fact that it deals with law enforcement and the Black community's situation that we have in the United States. It deals with and kept me involved in the interracial side of it and the different aspects that go with families blending together of different races. Ugh. Just hits home. Just hits home. At one point, I want to say, I thought that Kennedy Ryan was in an interracial relationship. This is how good she researched that book series. Because I was like, you are just talking my language. Things that I experienced were in that book. I was like, so you have got to. You had to have went through it. Come to find out, Kennedy's not in an interracial relationship. She has a Black husband, and she's Black, and yeah, her research was just that much on point. That much on point. Is there a story that I haven't read, or a storyline that I haven't read that I wish I had? I don't think there really is. I like to be surprised, which is why I don't read the blurbs and the synopses or reviews before I go into a book. I like to be surprised. So if there's something out there that I haven't read, I wouldn't know it, I guess you could say. And the last question, I think I've covered them all. Nope, I got one more. But this one is a main character in one of my favorite authors' romances, and who would I choose, and which trope would I insist not to be part. I guess you could say, see, I've read quite a few good stepbrother books, so it doesn't eke me out, it doesn't freak me out, because they did it like a good way, where, you know, the parents are later in life, and they got together, and that's what makes them step parent or step brother and sister. I'm not down for living with and growing up and then falling in love. That whole thing, that kind of ekes me out a little bit, but other than that, I don't know. There really isn't a story. Alrighty. And then finally, my top 5 romance books of all times. I'm going to leave you guys with this. This is so hard. So very hard. I'm going to go with the Consequences series by Alethea Roman, the Salvation series by Corinne Michaels, the Grip series by Kennedy Ryan, Black and White Flowers by Rachel Robinson, and Dear Life by Megan Quinn. Hopefully I answered all of your questions. If you guys have more questions or if you liked this format, let me know down in the comments. I love talking with you guys. Thank you for watching this long drawn out question and answer. I hope you guys got a little bit of piece of me, some knowledge of me, and you guys enjoyed that. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys later.